This is Sean Payton, head coach of the New Orleans Saints. What's with this Saints Happy Cast? This has to be the worst Saints podcast in the world. Ralph can't say anyone's name right. Andrew doesn't know football. Everyone has a hard time listening to Dave. And is Kevin even there tonight? The audio with this podcast, my God, the audio, it's painful.
All right, everybody, welcome to a special live edition of the Saints Happy Hour podcast live stream because the Saints 2020 schedule dropped today. We have a new computer, and as you would expect with a new computer for Saints Happy Hour podcast, we had major technical crises 30 seconds before I hit the button to go live. On brand.
Ralph just dropped off the call, and it's just Andrew and I talking to each other for 5 minutes. Till we realize Ralph's not even here anymore.
I hope we're live. We'll see. Basically, the internet on my computer dropped off. So, we'll see. So the Saints schedule dropped today, gentlemen. That was exciting. The first thought of it, Dave, was Tom Brady week 1. That was obvious.
That wasn't my first thought, but okay.
That I figured that was obvious from the get-go. I got a little gun shy on it because John Clayton said it was going to be all AFC, NFC games to start.
Yeah, he really nailed that one.
You should have never doubted Underhill, okay? When Underhill speaks, you listen, motherfucker.
Fair enough. The other thing, Andrew, Vegas, week 2 on Monday Night Football to open the Raiders' new stadium. Of course, are there going to be people there? Are there going to be 15,000, 20,000? No one, who knows? And my other thought with this, the schedule is this is evidence piece number 8,072. Goodell hates the fucking Saints. They play on Christmas Day at 3:30. That is a nightmare for everyone.
That's my problem.
And
that's my beef. That was the glaring aspect of the schedule.
5 road games in 7 weeks. This schedule is just...
I'm kind of hating the week 6 bye, too. I always hate the early... I always want it week 8 or later. I hate the early bye.
Is your... Dave, is there anything else that stuck out to you a lot about the schedule?
No, I want to talk about the fucking Christmas game. I don't fucking understand. The NFL and Goodell... They're trying to fucking destroy marriages. They're trying to break up families. This shit is so fucking obnoxious. First of all, if Christmas falls on Friday, why aren't all the games just on Sunday? Isn't that what they normally do? Isn't that what they did last year when Christmas Eve?
I thought it was the NBA's thing to do Christmas.
Right. Also that, but like why? It seems like they were just like, fuck it, let's put a game on Friday on Christmas Day. Like, yeah, Christmas Day falls on Friday. We could easily just make everybody play on Sunday and Monday, and no biggie. But no, let's just fucking like when Christmas was on Sunday last season or 2 seasons ago, didn't they move all the games to Saturday or something?
Yes,
usually when Christmas is on a Sunday, they play Christmas Eve.
Christmas Day. Wait. When Christmas Day fell on the day that football normally is played, they went out of the way and moved the entire league and made the entire league play on Saturday. But when Christmas Day falls on fucking Friday, not a normal day for football, they're like, fuck it. Let's have 2 teams play on Christmas Day on Friday. What the fuck is that? Okay? And if they play this fucking game, I gotta decide whether I want to get fucking divorced or and keep my fucking home game attendance streak alive. Or whether I want to give up fucking 10, 11 years of being at every single Saints home game and keep my family together. What the fuck, NFL? What the fuck?
Roger Goodell,
divorce,
home wrecker.
Divorce is the obvious choice here.
Yeah, I know I'm getting divorced. I'll start calling lawyers now.
Yeah, no, seriously, I can't believe that.
Do they have
I
another?
can't
Is the
believe it.
Saints? Is it the only game on Christmas?
It's the only game.
Oh
It's
my!
not like they're blowing out and saying, "All right, let's do one game at noon, one at 4:30, and then one night game." It's the only game.
If ever there was a time where Darren Ravel might have an opinion that I might agree on, it's probably on this. Darren Ravel probably agrees with me on this.
But as always, fuck Darren Ravel.
What
This
the fuck?
I can-
On a Friday? And also, so that's one of our quote-unquote primetime games. They're including that as the 5th primetime game. 3:30 is not primetime. I mean, yeah, I get it's the only game. It's going to be the game of the week, or it's the only game on that day, so it's a nationally televised game. But it's not primetime. You got to be after 6:30 to be primetime.
They played Chris. They have the Saints have played on a Friday before. It was the last victory that Mike Ditka ever had as Saints coach. They played the Dallas Cowboys Christmas Eve, 1999, on a Friday. Jake Delhomme threw for 300 yards. Eddie Kinnison caught a touchdown. The Saints beat the Cowboys. So it's
The worst part about this is that I have Christmas Day in Baton Rouge every year, and I've got to be there because we do presents in the morning. So wake up first thing. We're gonna have to do presents. And usually family gets there between noon and 1 o'clock, which is right around the time I'd have to leave to go to the Superdome. So even let's say even if I cut it super close,
Here's the thing.
1:30 is probably the latest I can leave.
Allison
if I'm
makes a
gonna
great point. Prime time equals dark outside.
Right.
Good
Right.
point, Allison.
And even in the winter, 3:30, it's still light outside.
Can we protest this somehow?
I mean,
It,
it's
honestly,
almost.
it really pisses me off because honestly, it's now making me want to root for games not being played, so that I don't even have to fucking deal with this nightmare scenario.
Remember when you were so pissed that they played Thanksgiving back-to-back years, and then the
It's the
NFL said,
home.
"Oh,
It's the home Thanksgiving games. The away
Yeah.
Thanksgiving games are a fucking blessing. Those are manna. That's manna from heaven. But the home games that you have to go to, that's what makes it difficult.
that's true. If the Christmas game was away, it would be a perfect."
Oh, I would be in.
excuse.
That's exactly right. If the
Yeah.
Christmas game, and that's exactly, I looked at.
'Cause then you can be present but not really.
Oh, forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it. That would be it'd be the greatest Christmas ever, or the worst Christmas ever, depending on how the Saints did. But either way, yes, I was like, as soon as I saw the Christmas Day game, I was like, please be away, please be away, please be away. Fuck, it's home.
You and every Saints fan. I
It
think.
was like, you know.
But if you're a Saints fan from abroad, or you're a Saints fan that wasn't going to go to these games anyway, then it's probably exciting, right?
Yeah, I mean,
this
I
is-
guess
this
I guess
is
the
really
the 97 people in Malta that listened to the Saints Happy Hour in April, they can be pretty excited about that Christmas Day game with the Vikings.
Should we, since we're number 10 in Finland and we're
12.
so popular there, should we start playing death metal,
No, but
black magic metal?
I
or
mean,
whatever?
we do have it's not Finnish, but German, Finland, it's all the same, right? I mean, it's not that much difference, is it? I want to be top 25 all across Europe, and I want to be top 25 on Chartable. That's my goal for the 2020 calendar year. Now that we've discussed the abomination that is Saints Christmas football at home, Andrew, the rest of this schedule, I have to say, like, the bye is not great, but the start, Tampa, Raiders, Green Bay, that's a pretty difficult start. I have to say, the middle of this, when they play Detroit, the Chargers, have a week off, Carolina, at Chicago, they better go 3-1 in those games, because after that, they play at Tampa, San Francisco. I mean, Atlanta, it's a rivalry game, so you never know how it's going to go. Then at Denver, at Atlanta, at Philadelphia, Kansas City, Minnesota home, at Carolina. That's the finish. That's a hard goddamn road to finish. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Saints are a 13-3 team. On paper, the roster is very strong, and that they're set up to beat anybody. So the schedule doesn't scare me that much in the sense that if you're a good team, you find a way to win most of these games, hopefully. And whether it's 10 or 12 or 13, I think they're getting to the playoffs. The main thing I always look at personally, I mean, I'm always interested in the primetime games. I'm always interested in the matchups, and week 1 is always interesting, and Tampa was a predictable outcome. But the main thing I always look at is the cold away games. Like how many potential cold away games do the Saints land? And there were 3 this year that were risky prepositions. Denver, Philly, and Chicago. Those were the 3 destinations that they could go this year. So that's probably what I was keeping my eye on more than anything. So Chicago happens week 8, November 1st. I'm guessing the weather will be okay at that point. Low risk,
fine.
Low risk of
40s,
snow.
50s.
Yeah. So that one's not so bad. Denver on November 29th and Philly on December 13th. Those are more concerning. Those could potentially be snow games. And so, it's just when you look at the Saints, how they're built, what they have a better chance of winning. I think this is maybe more unlucky than they've been in recent years, where I feel like they've only maybe been exposed to 1 road game like this. But there's 2 this year. So I would say that's probably the biggest disappointment. And they're actually on the road for 3 weeks in a row, because week 12 through 14, that's the gauntlet. Every team has that little gauntlet period in their schedule. And with the Saints, I would say, week 12, they're at Denver, cold game. Week 13, at Atlanta. Week 14, at Philly. So you're on the road 3 weeks in a row, and 2 of those games could potentially be with precipitation, wind, cold weather. So that's not a great stretch.
I'd say it's a trade-off, though, for getting Kansas City and San Francisco, your 2 Super Bowl teams at home. You get Green Bay at home. That's good, too.
Minnesota.
And you get Minnesota at home. So,
I mean, you don't know. Well, I mean, the end of the year, you don't know how beat up the Saints are going to be and how beat up Kansas City is going to be. But that, to me, Andrew, the toughest stretch is at Philly, 7 days later, the Chiefs, then 5 days later, Minnesota.
I mean, it's really week 12 through 17 is when it gets rough, because it's that 3-week period that I just said.
Yeah.
Where you're on the road 3 straight weeks, including 2 cold games. Then you come back for 2 home games, but it's within 5 days of each other. And you got to play the Chiefs, who are the defending Super Bowl champion, and the Vikings, who left your guts on the floor the last 3 years. So those are 2 very tough home games. And then you've got to go at Carolina, which on January 3rd is not going to be that could be another snow game. That's not going to be great weather probably. So, I mean, I just look at week 12 to 17. Those last 5 weeks is a pretty brutal stretch.
Yeah, and Dan Quinn's going to be fired anyway, so I'm not really concerned about the. I'm not real concerned about the.
We said that last year, and he's still here. Thankfully, but
thankfully he wasn't. I say it's 50-50 at best that he's the coach of Atlanta when they play November 22nd. I just,
I did enjoy, if you're on Twitter, I recommend you check out the Falcoholic. I kind of hate follow them, and mostly when they tweet, I like to read the comments, like the responses from Falcons fans, and a lot of times they're really negative, so it's great. And I saw that the Falcoholic tweeted right after the schedule was released, thoughts on the schedule, and most people were saying 5 wins, 4 wins. There's a lot of lamenting how difficult the Falcons' schedule is. And so the sheer panic and dread was just wonderful.
Well, let's take a look at their schedule. Whew! It's that schedule. This is the just looking at this schedule. This is Roger Goodell. He might hate the Saints because he made made them play at home on Christmas. But this schedule for Atlanta, this is the let's get Dan Quinn fired by Halloween. Seattle, at Dallas, Chicago at home, at Green Bay, home to the Panthers, at Vikings. That seems like 1-5 or 2-4.
Yeah, I mean 3-3 in that period would be very fortunate.
And then they go Broncos at Saints, host the Raiders, host the Saints. Then they play Bucks at Chiefs at Bucks to finish. Oh, Dan Quinn's getting fired. I feel it in my bones.
They sound defeated, the Falcons fans right now. I mean, you listen to I'm reading the tweets and they're saying, "Man, Carolina and Tampa are going to be so much better, and the Saints are the Saints. Like we're going 5-11, 4-12." I mean, it's delightful. Their spirit is broken right now.
The Falcons played the Buccaneers back to back the last 2 weeks of the season. That's fucking weird.
No, I think they have a game in between.
2 out of 3.
No. They play the Buccaneers on December 20th, and then they play the Buccaneers on January 3rd. Wait, yeah, they have a bye. They must no. Yeah, can you have a bye that late?
You're an idiot.
Dave, how much have you had to drink?
Chiefs in between.
How much edibles have you had?
What schedule are you looking at? Like Bob's? Are you looking at Bob's website?
No, this is straight from Google. If you Google Atlanta Falcons schedule 2020.
All right, well, I'm on AtlantaFalcons.com.
It is definitely. I'm taking a picture.
It's Bucks, Chiefs, Bucks to finish the year, which is brutal.
Dave, can you please reference a website that isn't a Geocities?
This is GeoCities, not Geocities, whatever. I'm fucking.
So should we? Is it safe? Is it safe to pre-order my quad division championship T-shirt? Are we feeling good about it?
I think the only thing that's stopping the Saints from winning their division is the coronavirus.
Or the Bucks.
Or the Bucks.
I mean, they had a lot of people that were really negative about the schedule today, and just negative in a way, not so much that negative is like, why are they doing it because they're not going to play the games, but just sort of like, this is giving people false hope and optimism, and one guy was like, it'll influence the presidential election. I'm not quite sure how. Like the NFL owners wouldn't want their money regardless of who the president is. But right now, I don't want to be too negative, Andrew, but how are you feeling about, on a scale of 1 to 10, us getting a full NFL season? How positive are you about that right now?
In terms of the games actually playing?
Yeah.
Pretty confident. I would say more than 50%. Again, I mean, I've said this a million times. They just have to get it on TV. But I just think if they have to kick the can and start the season a little bit later to feel safer or comply with whatever, they could do that. But well, I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, there is a history of shortened seasons. So I guess when was the last time that happened? 86?
87. They played 15 games because of the strike.
Yeah.
But 1982, they had a 9-game season. They let 16 teams make the playoffs. Of course, the 4-5 Saints did not make it. They started 3-1 under Bum Phillips and didn't make it. So, point is, the NFL, they'll give us something. It may be ridiculous and be like a 6-game season and then playoffs or something, but Dave, they're going to give us something, I believe. But how do you feel about the whole schedule for 2020 getting played? What's your optimism?
Yeah, I guess I'm with Andrew. I think if there is a season, first of all, wait. I texted you guys the picture of the Falcons schedule on Google. You can clearly see the Chiefs game is not on there, so I'm not crazy. I think that I feel like if anything, there's going to be a shortened season. I don't see them playing a full season. I don't see them getting started on time. If they're gonna only cut a few games.
What browser are you using? Are you using like Netscape 2.0?
I'm using fucking Google Chrome. I am a man of the times, okay, Andrew Juge. Listen, if I was like Ralph and I was making a promotional video for YouTube for my podcast and posting it today, I would have fucking filmed horizontally and not in fucking vertical mode like a fucking schmuck. Ralph, turn the fucking phone sideways when you're fucking filming yourself. Jesus Christ. So I think it'd be a shorter season. I think if they're gonna cut a few games, you know, in the early part of the season, I think they're just gonna cut preseason games. But I think they may have to cut more than that. You know, maybe they play half a season or something like that. 6 games in the playoffs. That's crazy. That's like it's like you have to go undefeated to win the championship.
Dave, they did 9 games. What's the difference between 6 and 9? Not much.
Not much.
I mean, granted, I was 6 years old in 1982, so I remember it. But when Don Shula died, it brought back, you know, I just was like, oh, they played the Redskins, and it was a strike-shortened season. And I Googled it, and I was like, oh, they played 9 games. Like, that's 9, and had 16 teams make the playoffs, and, like, all these weird combinations. So they'll give us something. I'm excited when the NBA just says fuck it and they do a 32-team single elimination tournament to see who wins the title. And the Pelicans.
Do you guys think Google removed the Chiefs Falcons game because they've just already decided the Chiefs have won?
I don't know.
Like, do you think Google, if you check the standings and see if it puts the Chiefs at 1-0 and the Falcons at 0-1? Like maybe Google has decided to just already award the game.
Hey Siri, what's the Atlanta Falcons record?
Siri, can you tell me what sadness is?
They're,
the 2020
they're
Atlanta
0-0.
Falcons.
Wait. But she says the Falcons are in first place in the NFC South with a record of.
Hold on.
I know. Wait. Now let me ask her about the Saints. She fucking better say the Saints are in first place too. This better be a fucking tie. What is the New Orleans Saints record? Ah, you're lucky. Good.
Here's my question. If the NFL says we can't have full,
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have?
If the NFL says we can't have full stadiums, right? But we're gonna play games.
Oh, that's what I wanted to talk. Okay, go ahead. I wanted
So,
to talk about something.
would you rather have 20,000 people at the Superdome and be able to go to some of the games, or would you rather no fans and you get your money back? And you just watch.
So
Everybody just watches
How does that
on
work?
TV.
Do you have like 4 seats in between each fan?
Well, if you did 20, if they did 20, let's say they did 25,000 people, so it would be like
Every third seat.
yeah.
That would be wild.
And and obviously not every season ticket holder would get to go, so you'd probably get to go to like half the games. So would you rather?
No, you'd probably. No, what I would think. Okay, let's say if you were gonna.
Well, you get to go to a third of the games, right?
Yeah,
Well,
third.
There's 8 games. 2, 4, 6, 8. No, I don't know. I think they would do it. I think you'd do it where you go to 2 games, and so every. You know, if I sit in seat 1 in my row, for week 1, then the person next to me gets to go to week 2. The person next to them gets to go to week 3.
If that's how
And then
it
the
plays
person
out,
next
the
to them
black
goes to week 4, and then it starts over again. And everybody in the row, all the way across the dome, you know, you just keep moving. So I think that's how you would do it.
Yeah. So would you
black
rather?
ticket
would-
market would be insane.
Yeah.
That would be wild. So to answer Ralph's question, I would totally do that. I'd be in for that. I would probably consider selling my ticket because it'd probably be worth like $5,000.
I mean, can
And-
you imagine how much someone would pay to watch Breeze Brady week 1 if there was only 20,000 people allowed in?
Yeah.
Totally.
Now wait a minute. My plan doesn't work because what if you have 2 tickets?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
You probably only get one of them.
And how do you? Well, okay. What if you have
No,
4 tickets? How do you break up the 4 tickets?
That's
or
what
maybe
I'm.
it's
s-
Yeah,
assuming
that's
if
still
you
good
have
to-
2 tickets, you're bringing a family member, so you could probably sit next to them, right?
I don't know. I'll tell you this though. I guarantee you, if I signed up for this and I only got to go to like 2 games a season, fucking guarantee you, Christmas Day would be one of my fucking games.
I mean, I would hope that by Christmas the Saints could have a full stadium.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't.
I really don't.
I mean, I'd be so excited to do anything that I'd want to go to the game, but like the dome with 20,000 people in it will feel like a 1980s Tulane game. And it's just not going to be the same. And yeah, you'd be excited because
1980s? You mean like 1999 or 2000?
well, when did Tulane stop playing in the dome? How long they had the new stadium for?
It wasn't that
Definitely
long
not.
ago. Like
79.
Yeah, okay. So you're fair enough, but that's how it'll
What,
be.
when they
Like
stop playing in the dome?
yeah, like
10 years ago, less than 10 years ago.
2015. Yeah, they built Youngstown Stadium.
25,000 people in the dome spread out will be just
That's more than what Tulane was drawing. I hate to tell you.
probably.
Yeah.
But at least
Oh,
Tulane, Tulane would have like 15,000, but they'd all be congregated in like one little section. You know, this is going to be 25,000
They
people,
went
but it's going to be
sticking
like
up.
spread out everywhere.
It sounds nice, actually. It sounds fucking lovely. Like you don't have to if you want to go to the bathroom, you just go to the bathroom. There's no fucking long line. You want to get a beer? There's no long line for beer. It sounds fucking enjoyable.
I almost wish they could play elsewhere. Like if you're gonna have that few, I would prefer to pack it in like the Charger Stadium.
That defeats the fucking purpose.
I know. But it's just a bummer that like it's a bummer.
It is.
A Saints game at Ullman Stadium would be insane.
Oh, that would be fucking sick. It would
Yeah.
be so sick.
I
I would love
wonder
to
if-
have my tickets that I have for Tulane because those are the best fucking seats in the house.
They'll temperature check us all going in, I guess.
I'll do. They can stick their finger up my ass if I have to get into that kind of game. That's fine.
Dave, you realize when only 7 people go to a game, you can sit anywhere you want, right?
No, I'm talking about if they had a Saints game and they packed it out.
Yeah.
That would be so
Here's a fun question for the chat room. Let's hypothetically say that the Saints Bucks, they let people in, but they're only going to let in 20,000 people. How much are you willing to pay to see Brady Breeze?
I feel like you should have a belligerent quotient where if you're just kind of like a passive fan, like you should have to pass a test to have the right to pay to go see Breeze Brady.
right.
I'm serious. Like if you're just gonna go there and give a little golf clap and you're just going because you want to be seen or it seems like something fun to do, no. Like you
Yeah, like if
have to
you-
be a diehard.
If you
have
go to
You have
Saints,
to prove that you're gonna be loud somehow.
if
when
you
go to
go,
SeatGeek, it's like when you try to join a private Facebook group and the admins have that automatic quiz that comes up and you have to answer the questions. It should be like that.
no, but it
Except
should
on
be worse
SeatGeek.
because like if you go to Tampa Saints and they only allow 20,000 people in, and you go there and you're wearing a Mahomes jersey, I think Mad Max Thunderdome rules apply, and your ass should be beaten. Like
Here's what I think the test should be. You should be strapped to a blood pressure gauge, and the words you should wear headphones, and in your headphones the words Brandon Browner should be whispered to you, and then they should see if there's a spike in your blood pressure or not.
if it doesn't spike, you get the fuck out. Is that?
Yeah, you're not allowed to go to the game. Yeah. Your blood
mean-
pressure has to spike for you to be eligible for consideration.
Yeah, like it's gonna be wild. And I'm gonna say this: I think the NFL is going to. I'll be stunned if we see any preseason games. I think the NFL is gonna be like the travel and whatever for preseason games is not worth the risk. We're not
Yeah.
doing them. You're practicing for 4 weeks, and then you figure it out. You play week
Well,
1.
here's another thing, and Gibson Jones in the chat room is touching on this. If there's only going to be 20,000 fans in the stadium, and that's the atmosphere you're signing up for, I mean, that feels pretty lame to have 20,000 people in a dome. Would you rather watch it on TV than go with 20,000 fans?
Well, that
I'd
was
rather
kind of my
go.
question. That was what I was trying to get to with when I said, would you rather, with that atmosphere, would you just rather just them not have fans at all and you get your full ticket refund and then you don't have to make these decisions? Oh, do I pay out the nose because I want to go to a playoff game but they're only allowing 20,000 people in? Do I want to pay out the nose to see Brady or whatever? Just no fans, everybody gets a total refund, and empty stadiums in 2020. Like,
I would go. I would go. One, I think it would be a unique experience, and I think it would be, totally unique to, especially for me, having been to every home game ever. It would be, definitely another check off the bucket list. But I know this might sound weird, but even though there would maybe only be 20,000 people in the stadium, this doesn't make sense. But I feel like in a way it would actually be more intimate, even though there's less people and maybe the atmosphere isn't as I don't know. I think it would be kind of cool.
it'll be cool. It'll be
I
cool
don't
if
know.
you're in the bottom two levels. If you're up in the terrace and it's empty,
Well,
you might as well be watching on the TV. And I've been to Saints
don't know.
games. I went to the Saints games in the 80s, man, where you could fire a fucking cannon off in the dome and not hit anybody.
What about if you? Or do you think you'd have to wear a mask?
possibly. I think that's definitely possible.
It'd
I
be
would think-
difficult to drink dome foam or eat a dome dog with a mask
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Would you get the Saints sponsored mask when you walk in, they hand you one?
Yeah,
from
instead
Hi-
of a
from-
towel. That's right. Now you're gonna get face masks.
Like how you burn your bank mask.
I burned your bank.
Do
got
you,
blown out like
do you think
capital
that
P.
mutes your ability to be loud?
I think so.
God, these are important questions, Andrew.
Yeah,
These are
these
good
are.
questions.
These are the reasons why we have this podcast and people listen. Oh, by the way,
Do you need a clear mask? Make sure you're not hiding
like a
anything or
purse
trying to
from a woman.
bring any. Yeah, maybe you need to have a. They're gonna have a. There's gonna be a clear mask policy.
You stole Fredo's joke in the chat. I don't know if you saw it or not.
By,
Great minds think alike.
by the way, guys, check out the Bird Calls, the podcast, the Pelicans. It's awesome. They're discussing all things Pelicans. They're great friends of ours. We're gonna do some kind of team up podcast in the summer. It's gonna be fantastic. And whenever we do Pelicans, Andrew says I'm obligated to play this.
The Pels got Zion, dude. They got Zion. They got Zion. Oh, I've never been this happy. Oh, this is great. They got Zion.
But go to the Bird Calls. They have a piece by Ollie that the NBA season is starting to really get in peril about being completed, and they have an awesome podcast, the Bird Call. Find it wherever you get your podcast. Just search Bird Calls, subscribe, rate it. They're awesome. So
Yeah, I will say so. I mean, who knows what things are going to look like, but I'll plant the seed now. With the Saints playing at home on December the 20th and then again on the 25th for Christmas, somewhere around there, assuming we can do it, we will hold a live podcast like we did last year around the holidays. Don't have a date yet or anything, so we'll have to figure that out as we get closer. But if you're in New Orleans or just visiting for the holidays, Port Orleans is likely a place that we would want to do it. So, make
we'll
your
let you know.
plans.
We had gotten the wheels very much in motion with that, and Andrew, of course, has connections in New Orleans, and we had really started to talk about it, and we were planning it in the preseason and that sort of thing. But now with the pandemic, we're just going to bump it all the way back. But if it's possible to do, we're going to do it. It's just, is it possible? Is it going to be possible with social distancing to have an event and have 50, last time we had over 100 total people in there. So is it possible?
That live show was awesome, by the way. I just want to. It was awesome.
It was.
I loved it. it was cool meeting you guys. It was not you guys. I've met you before. I'm talking
You
about
guys.
our listeners. But the Bird Rights guys were awesome, and we did a joint show with them, and hopefully we'll get to do that again.
Yeah. So before we get out of here, very unofficial, but give me a prediction on the Saints 2020 record. Now that you've seen the schedule, and when you make your prediction, you can factor in crowds, no crowds, whole season, whatever, into that. But Dave, give me your very, very early prediction for the 2020 Saints.
I'm gonna say they don't play a full season. I'm gonna say 12-game season. Saints go 9-3.
9
And if I get that right, y'all owe me like $1,000. That's like a crazy specific prediction.
We'll pay even more for Sean Payton to give you a lap dance or something.
You gotta buy double breadsticks at Olive Garden.
Andrew, give me your prediction.
Yeah, I mean, who knows about the COVID stuff, so I'll just predict a full season. I think it'll be tough, especially if the Saints have to play in the Dome. I can't imagine. I can't picture a scenario where not having crowd noises doesn't matter. Like, if we were to believe that the fan impact play really means something and playing in the Superdome is a huge advantage, then not having fans for any length of time is a hit for the Saints. So, I don't think they'll go back. I mean, they're just too talented to go backwards too much. I mean, unless there's shenanigans we're not considering. But I'll say 11-5. And I do think I think the division will be tougher, more competitive. I could see Tampa going 9-7. I could see Carolina going 8-8. And Atlanta might surprise us. But I'll say the Saints win the division at 11-5.
The Saints are going to go 6-1 and win the Super Bowl. And for all time, from now until the meteor hits the earth, Saints fans will fight everyone on Twitter who says the title is illegitimate, and we don't give a fuck that they only had 7 games plus playoffs. We got the Lombardi Trophy. It counts. Take it from our cold, dead hands. That's what's going to happen, and that will be the way Drew Brees gets a send-off. He'll get a second title, but everyone except Saints fans will call it illegitimate, and we will fight them until the end of time. That's my prediction. Saints go 7-1.
I love it. Yeah, can I sign up for that now?
You would sign up for the 8-game season?
If you offered me a Lombardi Trophy and it was completely bastardized and every fan held that over us forever, I would take it.
That's my prediction, because that's just the way Drew Brees' career sort of goes. He never gets full credit for anything. So that would be total.
Fredo wants us to pick which team finishes last in the NFC South.
Panthers.
I was also going to say that.
Falcons, baby. The Falcons are going to come apart at the seams and go 4-12. Just write it in ink right now. Hold me to it. If they're good, Falcons 4-12. Dan Quinn doesn't make it to Halloween. How about that? So, if you like this podcast, we know a lot of you are new listeners because our numbers for April were through the roof. They're continuing in May to be through the roof. So there's a lot of new listeners we know. You should consider signing up and becoming a $7 or $10 patron, where $10 you get access to every podcast we do every day, plus all of Andrew's grades and draft write-ups and free agent acquisitions. And you get a koozie, you get a magnet, you get a sticker, and you get the Crew to Taysom Cup, which the FDA just said today, anything you drink out of it tastes better. That's just facts. So, guys, thanks to everybody in the live stream for joining us tonight for the Saints schedule release. It's been fun. We'll see you we will see you Sunday night. Until then, the bar is closed.